World AIDS Day has been held every December 1st since 1988. The goal is to raise awareness of the disease that's killed more than 25 million people over the last 30 years. Yesterday, millions commemorated the day in hopes of seeing this epidemic end in their lifetimes. Heather Kovar has more.
Young military cadets in southern India rushed to hand out flyers in a campaign to mark World AIDS Day. Hundreds marched through the streets of Bangladesh to raise awareness. This young girl says, "I hope everyone will learn about this disease so we can help stop it from spreading."
Let the sails be lit.
Sir Elton John lit up the Sydney Opera House to commemorate the day and called for a new war on AIDS.
To get the funding necessary to actually kill this disease once and for all.
This red ribbon is the universal symbol of AIDS awareness. People are wearing these across London to show support.
I think they should be talking about it as much as they do in Africa. I know it's a bigger problem there, but I think here we all think it won't happen to us.
This year alone, Greece has seen a 50% rise in HIV infections, especially among intravenous drug users. Doctors say the economic crisis is causing many drug addicts to use dirty needles. South Africa has more people living with HIV than any other country, an estimated 5.6 million. These children living at an AIDS orphanage in Johannesburg were infected at birth and are getting treatment to increase their chances of survival. Advocates around the world say their main goals are to increase education and prevent transmission and to create an AIDS-free generation. Heather Kovar for CBS News, London.
For more this morning, we're joined by CBS News foreign affairs analyst Pam Falk. Pam, good morning to you.
Good morning, Terrell.
It's good to have you here. You know, we tend to think of this as a domestic issue. As one of the ladies said in that piece there, it won't happen to me. But this thing is global.
Yes.
Where's the fight now?
Well, the fight is around the world, but the first time in a very long time, it's nice to have good news. I mean, AIDS and the HIV virus is down. The new incidents of HIV virus are down. The deaths are down 21% since 1997. And so this is the 24th year in which the world is putting focus on it. And for the first time, you see it in places like China, where it used to be taboo. So the zero growth in 2015, which is what the UN is trying to do, is saying zero new HIV infections and zero deaths from AIDS by 2015.
You know, this brings into question the funding, and you made that point that infections are down, deaths from this are down,
right,
which means progress. Does that mean, though, that funding from other countries and around the world also begins to taper a little bit because the death threat has gone down?
Well, yes, and that's the biggest problem right now, and you've hit right on the button of the problem. The good news is there's incredible progress, and the other good news is that in the United States you see bipartisan support. I don't know what other issue you see bipartisan support on. You had an op-ed by George W. Bush today because he really did spearhead a lot of the AIDS and HIV support in the United States, and Bill Clinton's at his side, and President Obama initiated a new program today as well. So that's the good news. The bad news is the funding is down, and that's the UN report that just came out this week said that the funding is not going to meet the 2015 targets.
So the consequences of the funding being down, does that mean that we won't see a cure potentially in this lifetime?
Well, that's the biggest problem. Right now, there's an AIDS vaccine in the works, and that's really what people are hoping for. Secretary of State Clinton said she was hoping for an AIDS-free world, and that's what everyone's hoping for. The downside is there's still 34 million people living in the world with it, so with HIV/AIDS. And so part of the problem is if there's not enough funding, it won't keep a pace as it is now. And that's the reason to have the world focus on it.
President Obama vowed to boost U.S. efforts to fight AIDS, not only here in this country, but all over the world, continue the fight that President Bush started. What other countries are getting involved in the effort?
Well, the European Union is very active in the effort, and Sub-Saharan Africa, where about 70% of the infections are in the world. And so you heard in the report, South Africa is the biggest incidence of AIDS and HIV/AIDS in the world. You also see South America. So I think this time you finally see Asia getting involved. And so around the world, most of the AIDS and HIV programs are increasing, but the biggest issue is to try to bring the private sector in, that's another one, and to try to get government money.
Well, let's talk about the private sector for a moment, because there is preventative medication out there. What's stopping the people that need that medication from getting it?
Part of it's the funding. It's very, very expensive right now, and so governments have to subsidize it, and the UN has to try to subsidize it. USAID has spent $7 billion since the beginning of the pandemic. So I think the idea here is, in tight economic times, this is maybe one of the first things to go, and it can't be. It just can't be, because this is something that is being cured. The over 50% of those who need antiretroviral treatments are getting it today. You've got to keep that up.
And the talk and the enlightenment and the conversation has to continue as well. CBS News Foreign Affairs analyst Pamela Falk joining us this morning. Pam, thank you so much.
Absolutely, Terrell.